Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Ksubas page 101, which introduces us to this new chapter, a situation where a man marries a woman who has a child, a daughter from a previous relationship. And this very generous man says, even though it's not necessary for him to do this, he still tells her that he is going to take care of and sustain and provide food for this girl, for her daughter, for the period of 5 years. So the law actually is that, of course, that's what he must do. If that is the stipulation that you made, and even if it wasn't in writing, this is considered to be one of the situations that we must stick to whatever he said. Now, what's even more interesting is that what happens if, unfortunately, this relationship doesn't work, and after, let's say, a short amount of time, they get divorced. He can not say to her, oh, you know what, I really was only planning on giving to your daughter as long as we were in a relationship, as long as we were married. It doesn't make any difference. He still has to provide this form of child support. It's not even his child, but since he said it without any stipulation, that means that even after they would potentially get divorced within that time frame, he would still have to give her that sustenance. However, the Talmud does tell us, of course, if he was more specific and said, I will provide for your daughter as long as you are with me, as long as we're still together as a couple, then of course that would change things. And after they would break up, he would be no longer obligated to provide for her. So what's even more fascinating is after this divorce, if she decides to get remarried, this woman, and for whatever reason, she really hits the jackpot again, and she finds another guy who makes this same deal. So the first husband, who is now her ex-husband, cannot say, oh, well, I see that now you're getting remarried and this guy's willing to support your daughter, so I'm going to stop. No. Instead, what happens is this daughter actually will get double the amount. She'll get the sustenance, the food that she needs, and then the other man will have to give her the value or cash of how much he would have given or paid in food. And then the Talmud even tells us what happens when this daughter gets married. Let's say, again, she was not a little child, but this was the deal, and the daughter herself gets married. Now, one of the requirements is the husband has to provide food for his wife. That's one of the requirements that a man has. He has to make sure that his wife is able to eat. Of course, she has other obligations, which we've spoken, that she provides for him. But this is what he has to provide for her. So interestingly enough, that is what happens. The husband will, of course, will begin his marital responsibility of providing food for her. But yet now these two other men, one who is married to this girl's mother, and this ex-husband, they both now will have to give her the value of the food. So we see that she actually will get triple the amount in this situation. Of course, this is just the very basics as the chapter is introduced, but again, we see that when it comes to your word, you have to stick to whatever you say. Whatever stipulation, whatever you say, you have to keep your word. And if you made a promise is a promise. And it doesn't make any difference what happens in the future. You're still, as a person, obligated to stick by your word. And if only we would be just as cautious, as is mentioned over here, in what we say is what we do, then in fact, our words and the words of others would be taken much more seriously.